It has been probably the worst 2 weeks of my life.
The worst 2 weeks of your life. Oh,
Yeah, and that's saying a lot. It wasn't our first hurricane. We survived and went through Hurricane Irma was our first one in 2017. That was just after we moved to the US. And this hurricane came right over Orlando, and it was insane.
yes.
But we got away lightly there. We were on the main line from the hospital, and we didn't lose power or water. This that we've experienced now in North Carolina and the mountains is completely different. It was utter destruction and also unexpected. The news kind of warned us a little bit about what was coming. But normally, like when you're in Florida, there's a lot of sensationalism about it and scared tactics, and they want to sell news segments and sell ads, so they really hype it up. Where in North Carolina, the news was like, yeah, you're getting some rain and some wind, maybe 15 inches. And all the locals went, no, we've never had 15 inches. Well, we had 8 inches the first day and 24 inches just in 3 hours the morning.
Wow.
Those are much worse.
Is that amount of rain that caused all the flooding down the mountainside, or was it the storm surge itself? I don't understand the science behind it. How does it work?
Well, I mean, typically when you're in Florida, it's extremely flat. And as the hurricane rotates counterclockwise on the eastern side of the hurricane as it's approaching from the west, on kind of think of it like on the left side, it's rotating and it's pulling the water away from the beach. And we've been, at in Jacksonville, Florida, where we experienced this, where, I mean, it sucks the water back for hundreds of meters.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, on kind of the eastern side, as it rotates, thinking about maybe from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, on a standard kind of clock where the hands set, that region, it pushes the water inland with tremendous force, and that's what they call the storm surge. Now, that's Florida, and it can be tremendously dangerous because they're so flat. Yeah. But what happened with us was completely not like that. Hurricane Helene came and hit Big Bend in Florida, then moved northwards and then crossed our section of the North Carolina mountains in the Appalachian Mountains. It hit the mountains and then just sat there and dumped an enormous amount of water. And because most of us live down the side of those mountains and in the valleys, if you think about our town, little town of Spruce Pine, North Carolina, got just over 24 inches in a few hours on already wet ground. Our neighboring town got 33 inches. All of that then runs down the mountain. And because we're at higher altitude than Florida, we live around between 3,000 and 5,000 feet up. Yeah. The winds are much stronger the higher that you go. So with all that force of the water and the wind, we had thousands and thousands of trees come down. So kind of to take you through the timeline. You go to bed on a Thursday night. You know the hurricane is coming in the morning, around between 8 and 11. So you go to bed. You've done your preparations, but nobody was expecting this magnitude, right?
Yeah.
Then you wake up and you're staring because it happened in the daylight, which is unusual. It seems like in Florida it always happened at night when you can't see it. But this happened in the daytime. So you're looking out the window and you're seeing trees fall. So what happens now is you're watching this stuff in real time in the daytime, right? You're seeing trees fall over all around you through the windows, and you're thinking, okay, what the next one's on the house? And this carries on for 4 or 5 hours. Then I went outside. It was still raining pretty hard, but the wind had calmed down a bit. So I walked out. You've got power lines down. You don't want to get close to that initially. You don't want to be that idiot you see on TikTok that got zapped by something. So you're like quite cautious. And now our driveway turned into a river. The water's coming down, flash flood level. And I kind of look up our driveway, and we had 7 trees down just to get out of our driveway onto the road, right? Our gravel driveway.
Yeah.
7 big trees fell over. So now you start, when the rain stopped and the wind stopped a bit, you start with the clearing up. You lost power, you lost water, and you lost cell phone signal and internet. So you're completely in the dark about what's going on in your area, okay? So the first couple of days, we were just working with chainsaws and no equipment to cut your way out just to the street, right? Out of your own driveway.
Yeah.
Cutting trees off your house, cutting trees off your cars.
Oh.
I mean, it was, and that's the first point. Then you kind of reach your neighbors in the kind of, that's the first little street. So then we walked all the way to the main road, which is about 2.5, 3 miles away. And then, okay, now we know there's 15 trees down across the road between our parking lots to the main road. That was step 2. Clearing that mess up took another day and a half because you're manually having to cut these trees up, and then you can't cut them too big because then they're too heavy to move manually.
Yeah.
So it was only, I think, day 3 or the morning of day 4 where we got a backhoe in. Then you're cutting the trees in half and some branches, and then you can push it out of the way with heavier equipment. Then it goes faster, but it's already day 4. So by that time, you're already now getting to kind of the end of where your food keeps in the freezer that doesn't freeze anymore.
Yeah.
You have no power in the house, so you're just having a braai or barbecue.
So to put it in
every meal.
To put it in perspective, for the duration of the 4 days when you were doing all the labor, you had no electricity, and did you have water?
No, nothing.
Water.
That stopped immediately. But with all the kind of creeks and rivers overflowing, we had buckets. You walk down to the creek, and then we had like a 3-stage filtering process. We'd put it through like a cheesecloth to get the biggest sediments out. Then it goes through like your coffee filters to get the smallest sediments through. Then we drip it through an additional filter, and that was to get it just clear of sediments.
And then you boil it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I tell people the Poikiko spot saved our lives because
I saw that.
You boil that in the morning.
I'll put some of that.
Then you wash.
Yeah.
You know, we all wash out of that pot with warm water. You throw it out, then you boil and you wash dishes because you don't want to get sick. Throw that out. Then you're boiling water to drink, but that you have to catch the steam and have a system where you're collecting the water from there, and it's a very, very slow process. So you would have like a 4 to 6 hour process to get
Clean
water from the initial kind of sifting process and filtering process through to the boiling and then collecting the steam. Because we had a lot of sewage and bad stuff getting to the water, so you got to really be careful.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to get is sick when you have no way to get to a hospital or medical aid. Remember, no cell phone signal, not even SOS, nothing was working. I tried, there's a satellite surface, and it literally said on my phone, CIA satellite, right? Connecting to that, I sent some messages, but that whole process back and forth took about 20 minutes to get a message out and a reply. And the reply was, there's no help coming. You're in the same boat as everybody else in your whole district and area up in the mountains. So sit tight, survival mode, right? So that was the first few days. Then after cutting open to the main road, like day 4, we managed to get our truck. We live where we live. You need a 4x4. So we managed to get our truck onto the main road. And now you're driving around the community seeing the utter devastation, right? Trees down everywhere, power lines everywhere. You can't drive, more than 10, 15 miles an hour because there's so much destruction.
And then the flooding.
So then we realized how bad it was. So there are 3 roads out of our town down the mountain, going east to west and going south. So we headed south. That's the main way to get down the mountain. We got to where you kind of now take the mountain pass down, and we found out that the road was completely washed away. It's going to take months to repair. But everybody was standing around on this kind of edge, looking down the escarpment. It's beautiful. Think of like God's window in South Africa when you stand there and look down. It's stunning. But that's the only place we got a bar or 2 of signal, and that comes and goes. So day 4, you're letting your family know you're alive, but you're getting very little information through. When you talk to somebody, you might hear every 3rd word, and after a minute it cuts out, and you don't have signal for another 20 minutes, right? But that was the only connection with the society, civilization outside of our little mountain town, right? And we realized we had no fuel. So then you start doing calculations like, how many times can I drive to the spot? It's about 10 miles away from our house. How many times can you drive there and back before you run out of fuel? So you're like, how often a day do I communicate? My food's running out, the water's running out, and you have no way of communicating other than your neighbors. So then you start to group up. Okay, everybody jump in the car. We'll do one trip out there once a day and go see if there's an update. And then you drive back home, and tomorrow it's their vehicle and you jump in with them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was that desperate. And in between this, you have to keep the fire going the whole time because you don't have firelighters, you don't have gas. We were completely unprepared for this because it's never happened in this area in 1,000 years. Yeah. The level of flooding and devastation.
Now, Walter, between all of this, you painted us this picture of what you guys are struggling with. You still sacrificed some of your own time to volunteer at some of the local schools to help hand out food and so forth. Can you maybe shed some light on that? And as well, what is the crime and that situation currently looking like in Spruce Pines or in the area?
Yeah, I mean, people are funny. It's like a disaster at this level really amplifies who you are, right? So the world is filled with good people and bad people. And in a crisis like this, it just makes the good people even better, and it makes the assholes more annoying, right? Sorry for the language, but it is real. I mean, we were in a gas station in Asheville trying to get out, and while we were in the shop, they were robbed. This was only day 3, after day 6, day 3 after we got out.
Yeah.
So you get bad people, and I'm in the local Rotary Club, so I volunteer in the community a lot anyway. But I went with the boys, my two boys, teenage sons, and we went and volunteered at the local elementary school. So basically, our day involved working with 20 volunteers and about 20 military guys stationed in our community. We get donations from all over the country, really, but a lot of towns in and around North Carolina drive up with trucks. Our local Ingalls shop was completely flooded. They shut. A lot of people lost their jobs, and we have very high unemployment very suddenly in our area. All the restaurants are shut. Most of the businesses are flooded. I mean, they're full of 8 to 15 inches of mud inside the buildings. So the businesses are shut. So these people aren't getting paid. So that's why we have that kind of distribution center. We collect and offload all the trucks. We've put them in that elementary school that we've taken over. Every classroom has got a theme, like baby diapers. You have hygiene. You have few rooms with food. You have like charcoal and propane and stuff to cook food with, and you have medicine, dog food, cat food. Every like has a category. Now we let people in there, but back to there are always some assholes in society that come in, grab all the batteries and the propane and run off. So we stopped that, and to regain some order, we have a police person stationed out front. We have two ladies running the two lines. We get lists of what people need, and then we have like 20, 30 runners going back and forth. Think of it like going to Walmart and having your personal shopper. Here's my list of needs, and we run in and we go get. And then I gave everybody instructions to double up on the order or triple up on the order when it's essentials, with the idea of using everybody who shows up there as a mule to their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that you conserve fuel.
Yeah.
Like fill your truck or vehicle with all these essentials. Now go be a nice person and share that with your neighbor, so they don't have to drive up to us.
And how certain are you that they actually go and do as much?
Well, I have no trust in bad people to do it, and I have all the faith in good people to do it. But we're in a situation where I don't judge people. I don't know why they turned out the way they do. You can never judge someone. Maybe they had a bad childhood and never got a puppy or a hug. And why are some people good? I have no place to judge other people. So I don't. I just say, take. And you know what? If they don't want to share it with their neighbors, then they are going to use it, and people need the stuff, right? Yeah. But even if your success rate, if only half of the people give it to their neighbors, it's half of the people who don't have to drive to us when fuel is at a shortage, or when people are still struggling with other things around the house. So I don't think of it from a judgment point of view. I'm purely now thinking of it like from a logistics point of view. Even if there's only a 50% uptake of us giving extra and it's distributing into the neighborhood, that's fine. I'm not here to judge or change people's nature. We just want to get the food, the clothing, the blankets, because it's getting cold very quick up on the mountain. We want to get the essential stuff out there, because there's no point it staying in our distribution center anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's where someone with your character comes in quite handy, because you are a great businessman. You've uh, um, pulled the hard yards in order to get your family abroad to live in America. You've made the right decision. So they've put the right person in charge to manage these sorts of things. And the way that you're explaining it to me, it sounds like a well-oiled machine, but only as far as the trust in other people sort of comes into play, because now you can only manage it as far as you possibly can. At some stage, you're going to have to look at someone and say, listen, yeah, now you need to get this where it needs to go. I'm trusting you to get these supplies to people that needs it. If you take it, you won't be stopped. We won't even know, but that's something that's going to be reflecting on your character.
Well, I mean, my business background kind of comes into play in the sense of, to me, it's not about trust or any of the other issues. We are helping people. If they want to keep it all to themselves, it doesn't matter. It's survival mode. I'm helping those people. If they are willing to give some to their neighbors, great.
Yeah.
Right? It just makes us more efficient. It extends our reach. But I think of it only from an efficiency point of view. When you run a business, you have good and bad employees anyway. You have to mitigate that. So, I mean, to me, it's not even a big issue. What I worry about is having resources at our site, and how do I get it out into the community in the most efficient way? So I believe over kind of sharing or over supplying is a great way to get the resources out the door. It also means we don't have overstock, because you have a whole elementary school to work with in terms of classrooms. But logistically, if you think about it, I mean, I must walk 10 plus miles a day with my little sheet that I get from every vehicle. And so does every other volunteer, to go from one room of hygiene that's 200 yards away from people who want diapers number 2 for their child. And you're walking up and down these halls to collect this stuff, heavy lifting, dog food, all that stuff. It's heavy. When you pack a lot of cans into a box, it becomes heavy. So from an efficiency standpoint, it's logistically, there's a lot happening. So if you can just become more efficient, give more away while you're doing that trip, it just works.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're getting into the weeds here of the operational side. What I really want to talk about is the charity side.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I want to. So I'm working up to that, and the reason I've sort of focused on the community a bit and the issue of trust is because I understand that there is crime involved, not just merely someone holding up a gas station, but people are literally stabbing each other to get some of these supplies. It's so bad at the moment that you need to be armed. We understand Spruce Pines has been hit severely, and what was the casualty tally like in the town alone?
Well, I mean, we have a small population in Mitchell County, and I mean, our county, I don't know, I think it's close to the size of Gauteng. It's massive, right? But we only have 14,000 people. And from the last count, we lost close to 200 in the area. I think 300. I mean, it's not all official. We have over 500 people missing still, and it's day 14.
Wow.
Your survival rate on day 14 is very low. So we're hoping people have just moved out of the area and have not checked in. You know, that's our hope.
Yeah.
But for a small population, we're going to lose a significant percentage. And it's not just the death toll, it's the loss of income.
Yeah.
We're one of the poorest counties in North Carolina. And several of the largest businesses have shut because of flooding. Baxter down the mountain, people can't get to work easily. And we have the most important mine in the world in our little town, randomly in the
oh yeah, wow,
town of Spruce Pine in North Carolina. We have the most important mine in the world, and it's not hubris or facetious. It really is literally the most important mine in the world because it produces the highest quality quartz that has ever been found globally. And that quartz, that stone, is of such a high quality. They make the crucibles where you melt silicon in, and it produces pretty much every semiconductor in the globe.
Wow.
Is melted and made from quartz that comes from this one little town called Spruce in North Carolina. And I mean, you can look it up. Every single solar panel made in China or the US uses quartz from spruce pine.
By vibranium in the Kandla.
Yeah, it's utterly insane how a population of 2,400 has such a global impact. That's why the military and the National Guard came to our town first.
Yes. Now, what I'm learning out of this is the amount of job loss is massive. Now, this is where charity becomes really important, because in order for the audience to understand what it is you guys lost, we need to understand the magnitude of what the business infrastructure looked before the storm. Now we know that there's a massive amount of unemployment. People are in need of charity. They are in need of supplies. You've been told several times that help is not coming. Now you've got neighboring towns stepping in and helping with supplies. What, in terms of charity, what can the broader community do in order to assist your town, or your county for that matter?
Well, I mean, it's going to sound harsh, but what we don't need is thoughts and prayers. Keep that for the next school shooting. What we need is donations and volunteers. Those are actions. I don't want empty words or people thinking they contribute by thinking of us. That's, to me, I can't feed people with thoughts and prayers. I can feed people with food and with donations.
Yeah.
So they can go to our GoFundMe page, and I'm sure you'll be able to post a link.
I'll put it in here, yeah.
And people can show up in the mountains and come and help. Now, the local media and the national media has moved on faster than you could ever imagine. A one-night stand lasts longer than the attention we had. Then Milton came and it hit Florida, and we were old news, right?
This is an unfortunate side effect of the second hurricane that hit that area in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And I mean, even local people, I came down to Charlotte today to get some supplies from local churches and the university where I study. So I've got a truckload full of essentials, propane and paper plates. People are cooking on propane who don't have power, and we can't wash dishes, so the paper plates, etc., and getting blankets. So I'm taking that back up tomorrow. So that's what we need. We need real help. Don't think about us. Help us, right? We need action.
Click the link. And
yeah.
That's one way of doing it. If you're not close to the area, if you're not in the county, you're sitting somewhere in New Zealand watching this podcast. I know you are, because I've got New Zealand subscribers. Australia, the UK, which has almost half our subscriber list. You have the strongest currency. You have the means to give, even if it's just a little. Walter is a great guy. He's got a great track record. There's loads of articles online that speaks about what's happening in that county. By giving a little, you're helping a lot.
Oh, and absolutely. And I think what people don't realize, what we had, the level of devastation, right? When you watch on the news that Florida got storm surge of 10 to 12 feet, we had the river exceeding its kind of traditional path by over 30 feet. It's absolutely insane. So we don't have the electrical infrastructure. Excuse me. Our water treatment plant was completely destroyed. Our sewage plant was completely destroyed. We don't have any internet infrastructure. and we don't have electrical infrastructure. Thousands of poles came down. All the wires, the ones that weren't destroyed in the storm, we had to cut to get out. So you're talking about utter destruction of our town, the businesses, and we're already a much poorer kind of area than anywhere else in the first world. You know, we're about 27% below the national average of the US. So it was already a struggling area. Now, with 80% plus of the people unemployed, it's a real struggle. That's why crime is rising. People are desperate. And again, we're not judging anyone, right? They can come to the center and can get food, but people are desperate, and it makes you a little bit crazy.
Yeah,
So I understand
if someone stabs me, I'll be judging him. Don't you worry.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I have no judgment for anyone because I don't know what they're going through. If you haven't eaten for 3 days,
yes,
I mean, you're getting desperate.
Let's pause on that because I understand it. If you're desperate for food, that's one thing. But organizations like yourself, like the Rotary Club, which you're the president of, you are helping with people with food as far as you can. But now people are stabbing each other for other things like alcohol and drugs and those sorts of things.
Yeah, maybe we'll judge them on the drugs, but who hasn't stabbed anyone for a good scotch? I mean, it happens.
I'm just happy.
And I'm not the.
Oh, despite the utter destruction, you are still so South African. It's amazing that you still are able to laugh, to have a good laugh.
Well, I mean, you got to laugh. Plus, I
No.
stabbed somebody today for some good scotch. That's why I'm so happy.
Well,
Right?
we're not laughing at the situation. We're laughing because of the little things around the situation, and that helps.
Yeah, you know what? We have to keep our sense of humor. We have to reserve our judgment.
Stay
We
sane.
have to just do the best we can. But we desperately need help. I hope you can, excuse me, get some B-roll out there of what it looks like here because
You've seen me loads of footage of
yeah.
what your situation looks like, the work that you guys are doing, your own neighborhood, how that looks. I'm gonna get that all on a video to help paint this picture for our broader community. Sometimes all that people have to relate to is their own imagination, and at times that's not good enough. You need to see with your own eyes. And the fact that you're one of our own, you're South African. You've worked hard to build a life abroad for your family, a dream that many of us are always just trying to fulfill. You're basically there, but then you deal with the challenges of those countries as well. We don't have hurricanes in South Africa. I think we had one tiny tornado 10 years ago. But that's it. I mean, even in Australia, we had a storm the other day, category 1 or 2 winds, but not a hurricane. It came through in a few hours and it was gone. And then we had I think there was a tornado 200 kilometers up north in Mansfield that destroyed a couple of paddocks. But that's it. You guys are in the hot zone. It's like, and what does it look like for the next month or so? Is there more hurricanes being predicted?
No, I mean this was a once they call it a once in a thousand year kind of event. It just all of the rain previously in the few days leading up to it, the path of it, the kind of height of it hitting the mountains, becoming stationary and dumping all that water in a few hours. It was like a perfect storm. And we were just in the center of it, between the area of Boone and Asheville. We sit right in the middle. That was the worst hit area, and it hasn't happened in any recorded history. The amount of water we had, the storm surge, the amount of trees down. We had winds up at Mitchell Mountain at the top reaching 147 miles an hour. Our area doesn't know that. Our trees went, no, I give up. I'll just fall over. That's too much wind, right? Yeah. And if you extrapolate just from my little small patch of land, which is not even an acre, 23 trees down, you extrapolate that across the county, which is a mountainous wooded area, and I'd say 60% plus of our neighborhood had multiple trees down on their roof, house, cars, utter carnage. So if I want to leave anybody with kind of a lasting thought, is even our own county, even our own state of North Carolina has moved on very quickly. You know, we're old news. It's 2 weeks ago, but our high school is still at this stage, as of this morning when I left there, a Red Cross hospital. As of this morning, we still have many people missing. As of this morning, we don't have internet, water, electricity, and it's 2 weeks in, and the National Guard is there, the military's there. They're just not getting to all of the need that's there. So we need outside help.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do what we can from our end. We've got a big community abroad. We've got millions. We've got millions of South Africans abroad. And we're asking if you have the means to help, even if it's a tiniest amount, $1, $2, just donate and help the town of Spruce Pines at least get the supplies they need and to start rebuilding.
Fantastic, Stephen. Thank you for getting the message out there. It's very difficult for us to communicate with the outside world, and we do feel like everybody's given up on us.
Yeah, don't, man. I know it's hard because of Hurricane Milton, but I'm sure as soon as the dust settles on that one as well, which was a bit over. Look, I'm not there, so I'm not judging at all, and forgive me if I'm upsetting anyone, but it was a bit over exaggerated. The impact that they were very afraid when they saw Category 5 heading their way, but by the time it hit landfall, it was Category 3, and it quickly dialed down to Category 2. A friend of mine who lives down in South Florida, she says they didn't even have a drop of rain, which is amazing. I mean, how on earth does that even work? So hopefully the dust on that will settle a bit, and they will start shifting the gaze back towards the devastation Helene left, and you guys will get additional help.
Fantastic. Well, I really, really hope so. And thanks for the interview, Stephen. Thanks for your time.
Enjoy your scotch.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.